The following program is the work of the broadcast students at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, BC's carbon tax is on the rise.
The province caps ICBC claims.
And BCIT students use 3D scanning for better medical outcomes.
Hi and welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Ben Ronald.
And I'm Michael Panis. BC's carbon tax increased this week, adding to the cost of gasoline. But it's not just drivers who bear the brunt. My co-anchor Ben Ronald has a story.
These gas prices are not an April Fool's joke. The latest increase in the provincial carbon tax went into effect April 1st. On top of prices at the pump, the cost of heating and electricity will rise as well. And that means big bucks for a campus the size of BCIT.
Our emission footprint is somewhere between 8,000 and 9,000 tons. So at 40 bucks a ton, you start looking at over $300,000 a year in costs of carbon tax.
BC now taxes carbon at a rate of $40 per ton. And that will continue to increase until it reaches $50 in 2021. While drivers might feel the government should do away with the tax altogether, the tax itself might not be the problem.
So the economic argument here isn't against carbon taxes in theory, it's against the way the existing carbon taxes are being introduced.
McKiltrick says regulations like the oil sands emissions cap, in addition to the carbon tax, are the real issue. But some say the pain is part of the deal.
And it's supposed to hurt in a bit of a way to try and get you to think, oh, well, if I'm just going to the gym, do I need to get in the car? Do I just maybe ride my bike or take transit or whatever?
Whether you're driving a car or heating a building, the carbon tax affects everyone. Ben Ronald in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
Police arrested 5 people early Wednesday morning after a multiple car crash. Police say the incident was gang-related.
The Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver says home sales in March are the lowest since 1986. Sales dropped 31% since last year.
The province put a cap on ICBC claims this week. Now the Trial Lawyers Association of BC is taking the government to court. My co-anchor Michael Panis brings us that story.
The BC say they are attempting to protect the charter rights of drivers on the province's roads.
People's rights have been limited so that if they fall into what is deemed to be a minor injury, their right to compensation is going to be limited to a maximum of $5,500 for their pain and suffering.
BC is the last jurisdiction in Canada to introduce these sorts of caps. In BC, the average claim for pain and suffering in 2012 was just over $8,000. But in 2016, the average claim jumped to over $30,000. Along with the new hard cap on payouts involving minor injuries, settlement disputes of $50,000 or less will be resolved in the Civil Resolutions Tribunal. The Trial Lawyers Association of BC believes that deeming injuries as minor is constitutionally invalid.
And the biggest problem with that tribunal is that it will be making decisions based on a review of records. So people won't have the chance to stand up and say, this is what happened to me, have their doctor stand up and say, this is what happened to my patient. Instead, it's all just going to be done by records review. And how are you supposed to decide, just by looking at some records, whether or not an injury is minor or whether it's an injury that's going to have an effect on someone for the rest of their life, quite possibly?
And for some drivers, that just doesn't seem like the road ICBC should go down.
You should be able to be paid for the injury that you sustain. And if it's for them to assume that your injury is not bad and to put a cap on it, it's just wrong. It's not I don't know, it's not right, just not right.
Michael Panis in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine. Another Student Association election season is underway at BCIT. Students are vying to represent faculties across all 5 campuses. Student Association is in charge of career services, health and dental, and on-campus retail, among other things.
The most important reason is it's your association. It's a community we're all part of, and it's important that members be the ones who are making decisions.
Those elected will represent students from June 2019 to May 2020. Students can vote at my.bcit.ca until April 5th.
A group of BCIT students is driving the future of medical prosthetics with 3D scanning. Our reporter Ashley Moliere met up with them to see how it works.
So make sure it goes in the right way.
This small device attached to the smartphone may be the future of 3D scanning.
But it's not a school project. You're working with real technology that's going to have real applications in the outside world. It was the shadow.
McSonyu is talking about scanning body parts and interpreting the data to get more accurate results for building products.
Students like Alex take 3D scans of heads to see what appears afterwards on the screen.
With the accuracy of 95% or higher, the scanner was able to identify my head was in fact a head.
It's a head.
The technology was recently shown at the BC Tech Summit as a device that can scan body parts being fitted for a prosthetic.
With the scanning technology, you can build a perfect smooth mold around that amputation point and then 3D print a perfectly fitting prosthetic.
McSonyu says making this technology more available will also make it cheaper, from thousands of dollars to just hundreds.
That's the beauty of it. It's a real world problem, not just an exercise, which I think is the real benefit for this type of approach.
Halstead says in the future we could see scanning technology inside smartphones, making it easy to scan almost anything we want.
I love it because it's very interesting and it's very exciting stuff.
Ashley Moliere in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
And we're joined now by our reporter Ashley Moliere. Ashley, what's next for the students?
Yeah, the group of students will face off against their classmates in a competition where they will present their research, which is happening on Friday. The students also told me that they really hope to continue working on this project, but they are waiting for approval.
And what other projects has the Make Plus Lab worked on?
Yeah, the Make Plus Lab has also worked on a baby calmer, which simulates skin-to-skin touch for premature babies that can't be held yet. They've also worked on 3D printed sandals that have custom orthotics, and they even help Purdy's with their automated assembly line. Back to you.
Thanks, Ashley.
The federal government brought in a new plan to restore salmon habitat. Our producer, Catherine Garrett, sat down with the director of BCIT's Rivers Institute.
So I'm joined now by Ken Ashley, director of the BCIT Rivers Institute, and we're going to be talking about the $142.8 million over a 5-year span that the BC and provincial government has pledged towards the restoration of salmon habitats. So first of all, thank you for joining me, Ken.
Oh, you're welcome, Catherine.
I would like to ask you about your thoughts on the new cash infusion for this.
I think it's a great cash infusion and long overdue. And frankly, I'd been in my MP's office in North Vancouver, who happens to be the Minister of Fisheries, suggesting this for the last year. So it's nice to see that hopefully some of that influenced the decision to go ahead and do it.
The BC Fund comes months after Washington State Governor Jay Inslee announced Washington's own $1.1 billion plan to protect orcas and restore the salmon habitat there. So BC Premier John Horgan said he and Lindsay had met to talk about how protecting salmon is a multi-jurisdiction effort. So what are your thoughts on the BC government and Washington State government coming together to try and solve this issue in a collaborative way?
I think it's great. I mean, it's long overdue. I mean, salmon don't respect boundaries. They swim back and forth, as do the resident killer whales and the marine mammals and everything else. So, you know, the fact that we got the 49th parallel, Mother Nature doesn't really respond to that too much. So to have BC and Washington State on the same page, doing the same thing, that's the sort of coast-wide effort we get. I mean, I'd love to see Oregon get involved in this too, and Northern California, because salmon, Pacific salmon, go all the way from Alaska down to Northern California. I can't see California stepping on board, but Oregon has got a very passionate group of people that are concerned about wild salmon, and I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of step up and get involved in this too.
Right on. Well, that's all we had prepared for you, Ken. So thank you very much for taking the time to join us.
You're welcome. More than welcome.
This has been an interview with Ken Ashley of the BCIT Rivers Institute, and stay tuned for the rest of the show.
A wildfire that's burned all week in the Squamish Valley reached 50 hectares in size. The BC Wildfire Service suspects it was human-caused. Coming up after the break, a workshop focuses on reducing and reusing.
And how a controversial video review has Whitecaps fans outraged.
Welcome back to your community calendar. I'm Darian Matassa-Fung.
And I'm Catherine Garrett. If you're looking to take the perfect selfie or just appreciate the beauty of nature, head on over to Vancouver's Cherry Blossom Festival. It runs from April 4th through the 28th, and there are events scattered across Metro Vancouver, including a Cherry Jam concert downtown and a night of lights at Queen Elizabeth Theatre. For more information, you can visit vcfc.com.
Are you an Earth Day celebrator? If so, you should head over to Surrey's Party for the Planet. It is the largest Earth Day celebration in the Lower Mainland. The free event includes crafts for children, free concerts, and more. The event is on April 13th and is located at the Surrey Civics Plaza.
As spring starts to hit its stride, the birds are flying, the sun is shining, and naturally, the flowers start blooming. Head on over to Western Canada's biggest tulip festival, starting on April 10th in Chilliwack. The show features 20 acres of 30 different types of tulips and over 6.5 million flowers. That was your BCIT community calendar for this week. I'm Catherine Garrett.
And I'm Darian Matassa-Fung.
Thanks for watching.
Ever wonder what to do with that broken toaster? A group of Vancouver environmentalists might have the answer. Our reporter Riley Reduke has that story.
This is, I think, the most elegant toaster I've ever done.
Computers, clothing, and coffee machines.
Can you describe the symptoms?
All of these came into the workshop broken and left with new life. Participants were able to bring in small broken appliances and have them fixed by a volunteer.
Our aim is to really have people think about products a little bit differently so that there's more value placed on those items. We need to make sure that we're reducing as much waste that's going into the landfill as possible so that it can last as long as possible.
The volunteers also show how to make repairs like this yourself in the future. This is something participant Tina Lowe appreciated.
It's better to reuse the products we bought instead of dumping garbage.
BCIT's Sustainable Business Leader students were on the scene collecting survey information.
Our results are trying to understand how we can help people fix things and make it easier for people to fix things. We found so far that people really are either lacking the knowledge or the tools to fix things.
Whether it be an old toaster coming back to life, or the resurrection of a child's favorite toy,
He's fixing it again, yeah.
it seems these workshops are having immediate benefits. Riley Reduke in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
It's springtime, and the Delta Police are handing out tickets with a side of ice cream. Delta Police are patrolling the streets of Ladner and Tawasin, on the lookout for children and parents, obeying the rules.
They're actual tickets like police officers would write out for violations, but these ones are really aimed at youth, actually, and they're to reward kids for activities such as wearing helmets when they're biking with their parents or friends, or looking both ways when they're crossing the street. It's a great initiative because it's fun for the officers to hand these out, and it helps build those positive interactions and that positive kind of connection with the community.
So make sure you're on your best behavior, because you may be walking away with an ice cream.
The Vancouver Whitecaps played to a draw against Seattle after a controversial video review overturned a late game penalty. Our reporter Jason Manawis has more.
The Whitecaps put on a strong effort against an undefeated Seattle squad looking to pick up a road victory. The Whitecaps stressed defense in stopping one of the league's most potent offenses from scoring. During extra time, Vancouver forward Wang In-bom was tripped to the ground near the Seattle net. That left the young forward writhing on the pitch for several moments. The play was originally called a penalty, which would have awarded Vancouver a chance to score the go-ahead goal, but the call was reversed after video review.
It's the type of game that can go both ways at any time, and throughout the second half, we're coming close to the end of the game, it can go from a stupid mistake to a great shot. It can go really both ways. So from where we are, everyone is happy with the fact that we didn't concede, that's for sure. Can we win it? Yes, we have that feeling as well.
Whitecaps coach Mark Dos Santos thought this was the first time his team clicked defensively, but the reverse call on the late game penalty left him confused.
Continues, and it was reckless, and we can mix other games that we played into this one, because one game is in Houston, the other one here. But if you look at the type of foul of Derek Cornelius on Ellis, and now this one, why is one a penalty and the other one no?
Video assistant referee, or VAR, is a football assistant referee that can review calls on goals, penalty decisions, direct red card decisions, or a mistaken identity in awarding a red or yellow card.
One of the things that I see that make games last longer than they should is the arguments between referees and coaches and referees and players. And all of that is taken off the table if the referee says, okay, we'll just look at the video. And then when the answer comes back, the player can't, or the coach can't continue the argument because the video proof is right there.
The Whitecaps earned their first point of the MLS season, but hope for better luck against the LA Galaxy on Friday. Jason Manawis in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Our reporter Jason Manawis joins us now. Jason, what was the atmosphere like during the VAR process?
Well, Michael, I can tell you this. It was very, very tense, especially with everything going on. Wang In-bom was still injured on the floor. The referee was still going through the video to see if it was an actual penalty. And it was very tense before they actually reviewed that it was a reversal. After the reversal was made, after that decision, the fans went crazy. Everyone was booing and players were complaining. So it was very tense from the beginning till the end.
And what's next for the Caps?
Well, the Whitecaps are still looking for their first win, and they're looking to get that against the LA Galaxy this Friday at BC Place. It is sure to be a crowd-pleasing game, especially since Zlatan Ibrahimovic will be making his way to BC Place to take on the Whitecaps. It'll be a very exciting game. Back to you, Michael.
Great. Thanks, Jason.
The National Women's Hockey League will expand to Toronto and Montreal next season. The decision comes after the Canadian Women's Hockey League folded this week.
If you have any questions regarding the show, you can contact us at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitnews.com. And that was your BCIT Magazine for this week. A quick shout out to my co-anchor here. Happy 30th birthday to him. I'm Michael Panis.
Thanks, Mike. I'm Ben Ronald. Thanks for watching. We leave you now with a look at the first cherry blossoms of the year.